Well, we are live. Welcome to Miami. I am in Miami, Florida. Troy Francis, dating coach, international man of nonsense, and yeah, I thought I would jump on the stream and just have a chat with you guys because it's been a little while. Particularly, this is going on to YouTube and it's also going out to Twitter as well. Hello, but if you're watching this on YouTube, I have been taking a little bit of I get kind of sabbatical on YouTube in a sense. Less content uploaded over the last week or so. That has been for a number of reasons, partly because I've been traveling. Obviously, I was in Istanbul with James Tusk, and then I was back in London for a little bit, sorting out some stuff that I had to sort out. And then I came over to America, which is where I am now. And so, yeah, I took a little bit of a sabbatical and also partly intentionally as well, because I've been uploading content on a daily basis for the duration of the year, really. And I wanted to just take a little bit of a step back, put my foot on the pedal, slow things down a little bit, and then just kick back in with more content. So I wanted to do this stream tonight just to sort of explain where I'm at, just have a little bit of a catch up and tell you what's going to be coming up. And what's going to be coming up basically is a bunch more content. We're going to be back to regular service on the YouTube channel. We're going to be uploading on a daily basis, again, videos, live streams, etc., etc. But I just wanted to take a little bit of a breather, sort out a few personal things, and as I say, you know, the traveling has taken its toll as well. Not to mention food poisoning, which I got in Miami when I got here. I think it was day 2. And I'm staying in a really cool place. I'm staying in like a really nice hotel. This time I flashed the cash a little bit and got into quite a decent hotel here in Brickell. And I bought a salad in the restaurant downstairs, nice Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad, protein and a bit of salad, you know, Beachbody ready. And it was a fucking disaster, guys. It was a fucking disaster. I felt like absolute shit for about 24 hours afterwards. I was in bed. It was not very pleasant at all. And I was a little bit concerned because I'm here. Obviously, I've got people to meet. I've been doing some appearances on different shows. I was going on Fresh and Fit the next day. And I was like, shit, am I going to be able to make Fresh and Fit? I was on Valuetainment with Adam Sosnick yesterday, which was kind of one of the key reasons for the trip, really. And I thought, shit, what if I'm ill and I can't even make that? That would just be a disaster. Fortunately, that didn't happen. I was recovered within 24 hours and it was all good. But anyway, there we go. So not very nice, not very pleasant, but I'm back to, I think, more or less decent physical health now. So, yeah, I wanted to get on and catch up. So, listen, what I want you to do is this. I want you to put your questions and comments into the chat, okay? And I'm going to deal with them as we go through. I want this to be led by you. Obviously, I've got some things I want to say. Talk about dating in the USA, talk about dating in Europe. I'm going to get into all of that stuff. But, as always, the purpose of this is to help you out. So, if you've got questions, if you've got things that you want me to cover, then put them into the chat and we'll crack into it, okay? Deal? I hope so, because that's going to be how it works best for everybody, right? Because the more constant questions that you put in, the more topics that we have to deal with, the more real life topics that we have to deal with, the better. Because I can sit here and give my experience, but my experience is going to be very different from yours and the kinds of things that you're perhaps looking for at your point in, you know, whatever journey you're on in terms of dating and all of this stuff. So, yeah, man, I mean, just, again, crazy day, busy day, feeling a little bit sort of, Miami's a fucking mental place, guys. It really is. And maybe it's just some of the people that I know, the kind of scene that I suppose I'm peripherally involved with here, but it feels like a very full-on place. It feels like that light's fucking annoying me. It feels like a very sort of crazy, full-on place, which I'm not necessarily entirely averse to. I wonder if I can sort of turn this around, guys. I wanted to get the shot. I mean, that looks shit, doesn't it? I wanted to get the shot in front of the. No, we could do that. I suppose we could do that. I guess maybe that's sort of a little Maybe that's a little bit better. We'll get rid of this Diet Coke bottle. I've got this quite nice. I've got this quite cool, like, sort of little bar area behind me. We'll get rid of that. And yeah, I mean, it's a nice hotel, guys. I've been very, very fortunate this time. Stay somewhere decent. Last time I was in Miami, I was staying on the beach, and I stayed in a little bit of a, let's just say, not the best accommodation. And the beach, I mean, it's nice, right? Because it's a beach, and you know, and it's kind of cool. And I quite like Ocean Drive. You know, I quite like that area. It's the first place I went to when I was in Miami. When I first came to Miami, which was many, many years ago, came to Ocean Drive with a girlfriend at the time, and got some memories of that. Not particularly fond because she was a bit of a bitch, but regardless, always quite like the beach area. But coming back here, there's something kind of, there's some upscale places there, but there's a sort of a ratchetness about it as well, which I'm not so keen on. So now I'm in Brickell, which is where I've stayed now more on these recent trips. This is where Fresh and Fit are based. They're just down the road from me. This is where a lot of the other guys are that I work with or that I collab with are based as well. Kind of hipster area. I was this morning. I got up quite early, went out to buy a coffee. Phil says hedonism. I got up early this morning, went out for a coffee to listen to some music, and then I had to do a call. And so I was sitting outside the Starbucks. There's a Starbucks just down from here, and the number of girls walking past wearing yoga pants is really quite impressive. And people will complain about American girls, and they'll make these comments about, oh my God, American women. Yes, John MLD. Oh my God, American women. I have to say here, there are some very, very attractive women here. Very, very in shape, very fit. I think it's because of the culture, maybe just in this area specifically, but there seems to be a kind of a wellness culture around here. Seems to be a lot of like yoga type studios, people going to the gym, people running. There's a lot of like little restaurants and cafes and things around here selling like kale juice and smoothies and all this kind of shit. So it seems to be a location where people are kind of looking after themselves, and you know, you don't have that cliched people going around eating McDonald's and being super fat or anything like that. It's pretty, so there's some pretty decent specimens here, myself included, of course. So that was very nice, good to see. And what are people saying? What are people saying? How does one avoid being a flammer? That's a good question. We'll get into that. So people are asking about Colombia. As I say, questions. In fact, let me put the banner in, but questions in the chat. Anything that you want to talk about, put them into the chat. I think we're going up against Fresh and Fit now, because Fresh and Fit is on now. I begged Myron if I could go on a second time, and they've denied me that privilege. No, I think they've got a special guest in or something. So I was, I'm not gonna do it tonight, but hopefully get in there again. Hopefully be on Fresh and Fit again next week. If you guys didn't see, I did, because Fresh and Fit are currently they've got a strike on YouTube, or they've got into YouTube jail. So they're not on YouTube this week, or I think next week, but they are on Rumble. Okay, so I was on a show on, was it Monday I went on? No, sorry, it was on Wednesday. We did two shows. We did a show in the afternoon where it was just me, Myron, and Fresh, and we were talking about Cold Approach, which was really good, actually. I mean, I've got my editor. He's going through it at the moment. We're going to take some clips out of it, and we're going to start putting some clips out. But it was a really good conversation, just the three of us. We were really getting into some like nitty gritty stuff about Cold Approach, but more generally about the whole passport bros thing, about the difficulty of dating in today's modern age, about the general malaise in terms of I suppose masculinity and guys not really stepping up to the plate. We talked about the old Tom Torero dictum, don't hide your dick. You know, guys increasingly are kind of afraid, I think, to express themselves and to be kind of physical and be sort of sexual with women that they meet, to express their interest in a appropriate manner. So we talked all about that. And then I hung around and we did the after hours show. And it was basically me, Myron, and Fresh, and there was a bunch of girls. There was about 6 or 7 girls, and it was great. It was a blast. You know, it was fun as always. it got pretty heated towards the end. There was one girl in particular who was sitting next to Myron, and there's these Puerto Ricans. There's so many Puerto Ricans here. And there was this Puerto Rican girl, and she was very pleasant, but she was kind of going off on one. She was fucking massively, massively simping for Myron as well. She was like all over Myron, but also just going off on one. And at one point, she started having this massive argument with Icy, that girl who works in the Fresh and Fit studio. They started having this massive fucking argument. There was this hilarious thing with this Russian girl who was sitting next to me, who was telling us this story about her ex-husband and how her ex-husband had been treated her badly and all of this shit. And then Myron ends up getting the ex-husband on the phone live on the show to tell his side of the story. And predictably, his side of the story differed significantly from her, or not significantly, but he was like, look, guys, she was a lot to handle. She's putting all the blame on me, but she was a lot to handle, man. And he was giving his side of the story. And that was really interesting. And they were saying this should be a regular part of the show. And it really should be, if they can do it, if there's enough people who want to do it. But because you talk to the girls, and obviously the girls have got their own perspective on what happened, and they tend to just blame the guys, and oh my God, men are like this, men are like that. And of course, there's always two sides to the story, right? And then when the guy gets on and he says, well, no, actually, this is what really happened, and then you start to think, oh, okay, so there's definitely more to the meet to the eye. So that was really cool. That was a really great Fresh and Fit moment. So you should definitely watch that. I mean, I'm sure it'll get clipped. I'm probably going to clip it myself. You've definitely got to watch that. If you haven't, go to their Rumble channel. Just go to Rumble, type in Fresh and Fit. You'll see the last couple of episodes, apart from tonight's, the ones that I was on. So check those out. And yeah, man, it was great. And then yesterday, I went down to Valuetainment. So Valuetainment is, I'm sure most of you guys watching this, you're probably aware of Valuetainment, but Valuetainment, specifically Valuetainment Money, which is the smaller channel that's run by Adam Sosnick, or hosted by Adam Sosnick, is a sub-channel of Valuetainment. Valuetainment is that big sort of media behemoth that's run by Patrick Bet-David, and they talk a lot about politics, they talk a lot about world events, blah, blah, blah. Adam Sosnick runs Valuetainment Money, and what Valuetainment Money has sort of become is this channel that talks about the interface between finance and romance. So Adam Sosnick is kind of a business guy, really a sales guy, but he's also very interested in the culture and in dating and in the social scene and the celebrity scene and all of that. So he talks about the dating stuff. So I was on there yesterday. There was Adam Sosnick. There was Natalia, who is like the co-host. You guys may be aware of these guys. If you saw the recent episode where John MLD was on there, and things all got a little bit heated for John. So it was that same setup. There was a bunch of girls, and there was also Pixie. So my friend Pixie Love, who you chaps might be aware of. She's on Twitter. She's a Twitch streamer. She's a feminist Twitch streamer. She's friends with Destiny and Melina. And she has, let's say, some kind of progressive views, really. She's not a huge Red Pill fan. Let's just put it like that. And she adds an interesting element to the dynamic, because she just argues against everything that everybody says, which is kind of quite funny, because although some people find her really annoying, obviously other people really fucking agree with her. But she certainly gets things going, because if you look at the comments are, oh my God, Pixie this, Pixie that, blah, blah, blah. So it was cool to have her along. And then there was another girl there as well, called Amy Dangerfield, who I hadn't met before. But she is, well, I think she told me she works in sales. She's an Australian girl, but she's started to now become a bit of a voice in the in this space, talking about the dating stuff, the cultural war stuff, whatever. She's done streams with Destiny. She's been on Fresh and Fit. She's been on the Whatever podcast, all of this. I mean, everyone just does this fucking circuit of these shows. So she was there as well. Very cool. And yeah, man, it was great. I mean, I think, John obviously had his experience on that show, and I'm friends with MLD and stuff. But I've got to say, like Adam, I think is a very cool guy. You know, I think he's a very nice guy. I really like him. I think he's a great host. He's able to sort of really put together a good show, and the setup down there, guys, it's very, very impressive. It's a very impressive. They've got this whole like studio complex. You know, very comprehensive, very, very professional, loads of people working on the production, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a great experience. And as I say, hopefully we're going to get loads of clips from that and put those out and plaster them all over the internet and push the Troy Francis legend even further into the stratosphere, because that's where we need to go, guys, because I've got to fucking take this up to the next level, really, don't I? I mean, I've been doing this for 200 years now. And, you know, then you get Zerka coming along and he just basically takes over the internet in 2 weeks. So I need to step up my game. And part of that is going on these shows, doing all of this stuff, because you've got to kind of play that game a little bit. I mean, the way that I suppose, differ from these people, I've got my foot in both camps, really, because I came from a sort of an older school sort of background, if you like, when the content was more about dating, and it was people like Tom Torero, and maybe it was the RSD guys and stuff like that, and it was about game, you know, and the whole sort of like red pill media machine just didn't really exist. I mean, you had Rollo Tomasi, he was writing his blog, you had Roosh and these people. It was all in blog format. It wasn't really online. It wasn't really on YouTube, with the exception of Donovan Sharp. And then, of course, we know in the last 2 years, all of these shows have blown up. So you've got Fresh and Fit, like over, you know, 1.5 million subscribers. You've got Pearl, 1.5 million subscribers. You've got, you know, Valuetainment Money, 200,000 subscribers. John MLD's at 200,000 now. It's all like, you know, it's all gone very big, and it's become this sort of media sort of circus in a way. And I mean, Tusk laughs at this, and he'll be like, you know, it's like a load of D-list celebrities just going around on each other's shows, and it kind of is. And I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, what's your view on this? Let me know in the chat what you think of this new sort of environment for discussing this red pill stuff. Personally, I really like it, because I think a couple of things. Firstly, I think it's healthy that men and women are now talking about this stuff. So it's not just a bunch of guys sitting in their bedroom playing Dungeons and Dragons and talking about women and not involving women in the conversation. I think that is a net positive. I think that's got to be a good thing. I also quite like the entertainment value. I mean, there are people who say, well, you know, it's all just like entertainment. It's all just like Jerry Springer, and, you know, it's all very superficial and shallow and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? I fucking like superficial and shallow shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I quite enjoy it. I quite like it. So for me, it's good. It's got great entertainment value. You get some interesting insights, but you also just, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of fun, and it's bringing these issues out to a wider audience, which I think is important. Diet Coke, and as I say, I think it's a net positive. I don't think there's anything wrong with entertainment. I think it's fine. I mean, the only thing I would say is, if you are watching this stuff the whole time and you're not actually taking action in your own life, then that's not a good thing. You know, that's not a very productive use of your time. And so I, again, straddle this kind of divide of, like, for the purposes of getting my own message out there to a wider audience, I have to sort of play the game somewhat. But equally, I'm also of the old school, where I would like to say to people, look, I mean, ultimately, you've got to be making waves in your own life. There's no point consuming hours and hours of this stuff. There's no point consuming hours and hours of any of these podcasts if you're not actually doing anything off the back of it. And in the context of dating, what you have to do ultimately is you've got to go and speak to those women that you're attracted to. You've got to go and make waves in the real world. Okay. If you're not doing that, then it's all a waste of time, really, because you can understand the dynamics. You know, you can get to understand female psychology, female nature from watching these shows to some extent. But unless you're actually dealing with women in real life, you're not going to learn, you know, and you're just going to stay stuck. And that's why, you know, we teach boot camps. That's why we teach stuff. You know, we teach you stuff, and we try to get you out there and actually doing things, because that's the important part of this. So, as I say, please put questions in the chat. Anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss, whack it into the chat. The after hour show was amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was as I say, it's always a bit of a mixed bag, those shows, because you never know quite who you're going to get. You don't know what the chemistry is going to be like with the people there. There were some cool girls on there. It was fun. There was just the right amount of arguing. It didn't kick off too much, but it kicked off a bit. So there was a bit of like entertainment value. And I think that what were the key insights from that show? Well, I think one of the key insights was that there can be a qualitative difference between what a woman, or anybody really, but what a woman says about a situation and what the objective truth of that situation was. There's going to be a difference, okay? So you've got to read between the lines, and this is again, a big part of communicating with women, female communication, right? Because they're not necessarily always going to be. Everybody sees life, right? Everybody sees life through the prism of their own consciousness, through the prism of their own experience. Okay, everybody sees life through their own interpretation, and it's very hard to get an accurate read on a situation just from listening to one person's side of the story. And that really is true whether it's a guy, whether it's a woman, whatever. Okay, so as they say, you've got to do your own research. You've got to dig a little bit deeper. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Top USA cities for game outside of Miami. Well, for me, New York City is probably the best. It's certainly the most. It's certainly the most documented one. Certainly for day game. If you look at someone like Paul Janka, he was in New York City. It's very walkable. It's obviously very big. It's very international. All of these things are massive plus points. But the next one, and this is very key, is Las Vegas, because Las Vegas, Sin City, of course, the party city of America, right? I'm going to be there. Not next week, but the week after. All right. And I'm actually running a boot camp, or I'm running a training in Las Vegas. Let me give you the dates. I just want to make sure that I give you the exact correct dates, but I'm going to be there. Okay. Because, I'm going to be going on a show with Rollo Tomasi and Michael Sartain. But yeah, if you want to come and do some training, then from the 10th of August through to the 13th of August, I'm going to be there and we're going to be doing a boot camp. Okay. So if you're in Vegas, if you're in California, so you're quite near, if you are somewhere that you can get to Vegas for the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th of August, which is in a couple of weeks' time, then drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can DM me on Twitter. Write Vegas in the subject line, or put the word Vegas and put your WhatsApp details, and we'll jump on a call and we can have a chat about it. Okay. I'm only going to take a couple of guys. We've got one guy who is who's going to go forward with it. So really, we're waiting for the deposit from him, but really there's only one space left. But if you want to learn dating skills in one of the greatest cities in the USA, and arguably the world, really, because this is one of the major party cities on the entire planet, if not the major party city on the entire planet, then Las Vegas really is a no-brainer. So, as I say, drop me an email and we'll figure something out. We'll get on the call, we'll figure something out, we'll look at your budget, we'll see what we can do, and we'll get it sorted out. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be doing these trainings for a huge amount more time, because obviously, gentlemen of my vintage, don't want to be running around doing this stuff forever. But we've got Miami next week, going to be doing this training in Miami next week as well. So again, we've got room for one more person. So if you're around and you can get to Miami next week from Thursday till Sunday, drop me a line, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, put Miami in the subject line, and we can talk about that. But probably more pertinently, because you've got a little bit more time to prepare, is Las Vegas the week after, from the 10th of August until the 13th of August. So come and join me there, because it's going to be fucking, man, it's it's Vegas, right? What can I say? It's going to be off the planet. Okay, I'm going to be in Vegas because I'm going to be doing a show with Rollo Tomasi and Michael Sartain, and I'm sure some lovely ladies from Vegas as well on the 10th of August. So that's going to be amazing. But we're also going to be taking students out as well, and we're going to be hitting the streets and hitting the bars, hitting the nightclubs, maybe even hitting the pool parties. Might get the old chassis out for the ladies in the pool party. So. And some private parties and things like that as well. So it's going to be lit. It's going to be off the scale, and probably off the planet as well. So drop me an email on that, and we can figure something out. Vegas is cool, man. Vegas is really cool. I mean, it's one of those places. I don't think I could ever live there, to be honest. I mean, I like a bit of. I'm not saying Vegas has no. I'm not saying Vegas doesn't have culture, because obviously it does. But it's, for me personally, as I've always said, I'm very wedded to London. I like the sort of the history in London. I like the oldness of London and everything like that. But Vegas is sort of, as you know, it's sort of in the middle of the desert. It's this very artificially created place, basically for people to go and have a fucking wild time, which I love. But also, again, I like to dip into places like that, and then I like to sort of get away again afterwards, if that makes sense. So, but for the purposes of what we're doing here, which is training, because when you do training, all right, for game, and people will question, like, so what do you do? How can you actually teach this stuff? Well, the way that you teach it is you've got to firstly get the student into as many interactions with attractive women, or at least women that he finds attractive, as possible over a very short period of time. Okay, the first thing is desensitization, and it is cutting the crap and actually getting into the battlefield. Okay, that's the first thing. But the next thing is, for me or the trainer, to be able to observe what you're doing and give you objective feedback from an external viewpoint, from an experienced external viewpoint, about the quality of what you're doing. Okay, and this is where people always go wrong with this stuff, because haters will say, well, how can you teach this stuff? It's all, it's all nonsense. It's all obvious. It's a grift and blah, blah, blah. It really isn't, because I can tell you for free, and having taught hundreds of guys and thousands of guys, including guys online, over many years now, guys often have no clue, really no clue, how a man to woman interaction should go. Or if they do have a clue, they're not very good at executing it. Okay. Now, it's all very well to read a book or a blog post. It's all very well even to watch some videos. Okay. But if you don't understand the dynamic and how the dynamic should be between you and the woman, and if you're not expressing that in the right way, when you're face to face with that super attractive girl on the Vegas Strip or wherever it is, then it's just not going to go very well. Okay, and this I think is what happens a lot. Guys will try this stuff. They'll go and talk to a girl a few times. They'll go and talk to a couple of girls. They'll say some stuff they've read on the internet. They'll give it a go. Maybe, if you're lucky. Most guys don't even do that, but some guys will try. They'll get rejected. And they'll think, shit, this stuff doesn't work. It's all a con. It's all a scam. And then they'll come online and they'll start, hating and writing blog posts and Twitter threads and all this kind of stuff. But they were doing it wrong in the first place. Okay. Firstly, they probably didn't accept the fact that rejection is part and parcel of this. There's always going to be an element of rejection for anybody, regardless of how experienced you are or how good looking you are or any of that stuff. There's always going to be an element of rejection. But secondly, the way in which you do the approach, the way in which you conduct these interactions is absolutely crucial in terms of the likely results you're going to get. Okay. And if you're going into these interactions and you're kind of stiff, you're kind of boring, you're not bringing that charisma, you're not bringing that riz, as we all like to say now, to the interaction, then it's going to be flat. All right, it's going to be flat. It's going to be a bit lifeless. It's going to be a little bit wishy-washy. She's going to think this guy's a tool, or she's going to think I'm just not, I'm not feeling anything here. This is what it's all about. It's about does she feel something? You know, does she feel something? She's got to feel something. All right, you've got to make her. You've got to create some sort of emotion in her, some sort of emotional reaction to what you're doing. And far too many dudes, particularly dudes who come and seek help in this space, and obviously it's a self-selecting group, okay? And a lot of people who come to this are quite introverted, they're quite cerebral, they're very intelligent, but maybe their IQ is high, but their EQ, emotional quotient, is not as advanced, okay? And they just have trouble with this stuff, right? And the way that they come across is not great, and it fucks things up, you know? And it's as simple as that. And there are very simple things you can do to at least improve your presentation, the way that you come across. But if you don't have it pointed out to you, you don't know what you're aiming at, okay? And this is why coaching is so important, okay? This is why coaching and mentoring of some kind is so important. Having somebody, it doesn't have to be me, it could be, you know, anybody that you resonate with, but having somebody who knows what they're talking about, not just your mate from school, but somebody who actually, you know, knows what they're talking about. Ideally, somebody who's taught hundreds and hundreds of guys, who knows what works and knows what doesn't work, generally speaking. You want somebody to be able to look at you and say, okay, well, this is working. That's not working so well. Probably if you try to do it like this, you would get better results overall on average, okay? No magic pill here, of course. There's no trick that's going to make you super attracted to every single woman that you encounter. Nobody can offer that. But there are certainly some things that you can do to improve the overall quality of the approaches that you're doing, okay? And that can't be contested by anybody who knows what they're talking about, all right? Anybody who claims that that's not true, quite frankly, just doesn't know what they're talking about, all right? And they're not equipped to really speak on the subject. Can't wait to see you on FNF. Well, as I said, you can see me already, because if you go to the FNF Rumble channel, so somebody's messaged me. If you go to the FMF Rumble channel, then you can watch the last couple of videos, the last couple of lives they did. I'm on them, including a solo show that I did just with Fresh and Fit themselves, Myron and Walter, and we were talking all about cold approach. And then there's the after hour show with the girls, which was a laugh as always. So go and watch those. We're going to be clipping them and farming out the clips soon as well. Anyway, Mike says Jerry Springer YouTube, haha, which is true. Right, okay, so here we go. So what's going on here says it's fun talking about these shows, these podcasts, but you can end up watching 5 hours a day of this stuff. You can, and that's where it becomes a problem, because again, you know, banging the same old fucking drum once again. But if you're not actually taking action, if you're not doing anything, then watching this stuff is just chewing gum for the mind. And I say that with the greatest of respect to all the content creators, because everybody works very hard and does an amazing job in putting this stuff together. You know, particularly like Myron and Fresh. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, those guys are at the grindstone 24/7, really putting that show together. It's a lot of hard work. And I mean, if you look at those guys, the professionalism, I mean, how Myron conducts that show in particular, I mean, he's incredibly impressive, right? But if you're watching that stuff, you're sitting at home, you've got the Cheetos out, you're watching it, and then maybe you're watching Pearl, or you're watching, I don't know, Adam Sosnick, or whatever it is, and you're not actually doing anything off the back of it, then it's all just entertainment. You might as well be watching Love Island, okay? So, you know, take it for what it is. The value of that kind of thing is that you do see women revealing themselves in real time, okay? Now, the counter argument to that, and Pixie, who is on the left of center, would say, because she was saying to me last night, I mean, of course, the problem with that is it a the type of women that they get, let's face it, they tend to be of a certain kind. Is that a fair representation of all women? Well, I see her point, right? Arguably not, because if you look at On Fresh and Fit, the women they get, they're all Miami girls. They tend to be a lot of like OnlyFans type girls, or like wannabe rappers, or Instagram celebrities, you know, all of the Twitch streamers, all of these kinds of people. It's a very specific sort of group of people. I mean, they're not tending to get, you know, the girl who works in the local bakery shop. Well, actually, they did. Actually, the other night they did have a girl who worked in a bakery shop, but you know, they're not tending to get, say, PhD students or I don't know, whatever kind of genre of women you can think of. So it is a kind of a certain group of women, but in the end, you know, female nature is female nature, right? And as we always say, you know, the men tend to have this Madonna whore complex, don't they? Where they imagine that there are these mythical good girls who are just these angelic creatures and they never do anything wrong. And then you've got these kind of ratchet girls who are at the club, and you know, and you avoid those, or maybe they're just for a, you know, for short term pleasure. But if you're looking for your high quality woman wife, then you're going to avoid those girls. And yeah, of course, you need to be doing some vetting. But the point is that female nature is female nature, okay? And the external signifiers of low quality, I don't even want to use that term, but you know what I'm saying. You know, the external signifiers of what you're meant to avoid are not entirely reliable, because the girl who seems super sweet and super innocent may also have those same proclivities. Okay, so you've got to be careful. I MGTOW until they come off their pedestals. Until who come off their pedestals? In Vegas, everyone's faking it. Tampa or Denver or San Diego is better. Maybe. I mean, you might be right. I don't know, man. I mean, it depends, really. I mean, people talk very highly of San Diego, certainly. I'm not really sure about. I haven't heard anything great about Denver, to be honest. But I mean, the advantage of Vegas. Well, I'm not going to sell Vegas. I mean, man, it's the entertainment capital of the world. I mean, you're either in or you're not. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. I would be on that like a car bonnet. To be quite frank, I think if somebody was offering me training in Denver, I'd be a bit like, yeah. San Diego though might be good. Austin Summers is well, yeah, Jesus. When are you returning to FNF? Probably next week. I mean, let's see. Obviously, they've got a packed schedule of people. Hit the gym. I do hit the gym, man. It's always these. You know, it's always these anons, isn't it? Who come with the criticism. Any other comments? Any other questions? Put them in the chat. This dude says, I have lots of Florida experience, but zero Miami time. Yeah, I mean, Miami, like I said, I mean, it's a mixed bag, like anything, right? I used to not be a huge fan of Miami. I still think New York is very good. Because, and for me personally, like, New York's great because it's also got that sort of, that cultural kind of feel to it as well. And you've got and the kinds of women sometimes that you meet there, you know, they've got these cultural interests. There's a lot of different genres of people, I think, in New York City, which is great. You know, I really like that. Plus, it's very walkable. It's a very historic place. It's a very iconic place. Blah blah blah. Miami, I was yeah, whatever. It's a nice holiday place. I'm not super mad about it. But the more time that I spend here, and particularly, you know, kind of meeting people and getting to know some people here and stuff, there is a vibe here. There definitely is a vibe here. And I think, as we all know, that increased during the pandemic when a lot of people came here because of the relatively libertarian nature of the state of Florida. And I think that's carried through. And if you look now in Miami, you've got quite a lot of, certainly in this space, quite a lot of big name content creators are based out of here. And yeah, it's a healthy scene, man. It's good. It's good. What else do we have? Rule Zero tomorrow. Yeah, Rule Zero is tomorrow. I forget whose channel it's on. It may be somebody like. Let me just see if I can find out. In the meantime, any other questions? Put them in the chat. Specific questions about dating, about approaching, about the sexual marketplace, all of that kind of stuff. That's really what we want to be discussing. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So there is a Rule Zero tomorrow. and it is going to be on Paul's channel. I think it's going to be Paul Come On Man podcast. Come On Man, the Come On Man podcast channel, and it's called Forget the Bugatti, Get a Motorcycle. Okay, so I'm not sure how equipped I am to be on that one, really, because I don't have a motorcycle or a Bugatti, I'm afraid. But I guess it's going to be Paul and some of the others proselytizing about getting a motorcycle and driving across country. I mean, I know Claire is into his motorbikes. I think Thor is as well. Obviously, presumably Paul Come On Man podcast. Maybe Glenn Lawrence as well. I don't know. So they'll be probably, stroking their beards and talking about motorcycles for a couple of hours. I'm going to have to. I'd like to come on, but I don't. As I say, I'm not really sure there's a lot I can contribute to that, to be honest. Because I've got a motorbike. So what am I going to say? I'm going to sit there for 2 hours and go, yeah, it sounds great. Sounds great. Digi Nomad says, respect. Tusk can't be bothered with Miami. I remember the RSD crew love Miami. It's tricky if living in a hard mode place. Do you take a shotgun approach ever? Blow me out. Well, look, I mean, the thing is, Tusk can't be bothered with Miami. And I completely get it. Because look, I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, would it be my first choice of a place to go for dating? No, probably not, because there are just places to go where you don't have some of the obstacles that you have here, right? I mean, so what are the disadvantages of Miami from a dating perspective? Well, it's a very high value. There's a lot of very high value guys here, right? There's a lot of competition. Okay, there's a lot of beautiful girls, but there's a lot of very high value men. It's pretty expensive. It's in America, so although there's a lot of Latinas here, which is cool, but it's kind of it's not necessarily just a place where you're going to get these amazing reactions when you walk up to a girl. There's sort of like, unfortunately, in the West, as you know, there's a sort of politicization of the relations between the genders, so it's as likely if you go up and start a conversation, she's going to look at you very suspiciously. If you're in Latin America or something, that's not necessarily the case. It's like, oh, this is so nice, oh wow, and there's a real joyfulness about human interactions. Unfortunately, in the West, that's becoming less the case, and obviously Miami's, it's in America. So would it be my first choice? No, probably not. I mean, I'm mainly here for professional reasons, because I'm doing marketing with these shows, and I'm working with some other guys and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I mean, it is what it is. But of the cities within America that I visited, I quite like it. I think it's quite a cool place. Not so much for dating, but I'm not really here for dating personally. That's not my, that's not the reason that I'm here. I'm here for other reasons. If I was going to be like, if I was saying to myself, right, I'm going to go for a trip, and I want to really maximize my dating opportunities, would I come here? No, probably not. But like I say, I mean, Tom Torero used to say that often cities will be good for one thing, but not necessarily for the other. So there are cities that are really good for dating, but are they good for living? Well, maybe not. Maybe like Minsk, for example. Maybe Minsk is really good for dating, but would you really want to live there? Possibly not, right? Miami is one of those places where probably to live, it's pretty cool. There's a lot going on. It's fun, it's vibrant, all that stuff. There's a beach. Is it good for dating? Not as much, right? Bogota in Colombia, where we're going to be later in the year, is much better, in my opinion, is much better for dating than here. Is it as cosmopolitan as, I mean, no, but Bogota is also a very cool city, but there's always like trade-offs with these places. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everywhere. It's not like every single place that I go is some kind of pussy paradise. Because look, as I've said before, at my point of life, where I am right now in terms of career and also my own personal life, the onus is more on me helping other guys than it is on my own dating. I'm sitting here on a Friday night talking to you guys. Doing this live stream. I'm not even. There's loads of people outside probably walking around, loads of hot girls, blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting in here talking to you guys. Why is that? Well, it's because my focus is on you guys, helping out guys that want to work with me and creating the content. It's not so much on the dating side of things, but that's a personal thing for me. That you don't need to worry about that. That's just personal for me, because I'm, this is my job, basically. Come on, man. Agreed. Red pill Thor. Not a fan of the transactional nature of Miami. Yeah, indeed. Right. What is your opinion of people saying that RP content manosphere doesn't apply in real life? There's a huge rise in pushback for the RP manosphere. Yeah, well, there is. You'd have to be more specific in terms of what we're talking about, though, because I mean, there's pushback, and the first thing to say is as well, I'm not necessarily. I've always said I'm kind of RP adjacent. I'm not necessarily RP in the sense of like I'm going to die. That's a hill I'm going to die on. Yeah, man, I'm going to die on the hill of RP because what does that really mean? You know, women are hypergamous? Well, yeah, I mean they are, but so are men. You know, if you all things being equal, a guy is going to go for the best possible woman that he can get. You know, he's going to want his best possible option in the dating marketplace. So do women. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. But the point I'm making is, firstly, as I say, I don't necessarily fully align myself with RP or any movement really. But secondly, if people are going to have a pop at the RP and the manosphere, then what is it specifically they're having a pop at, and who are the people? Because you know you've got obviously you're going to have pushback from the feminists and women, which is one thing or two things. You're going to have pushback from the tradcon people, which is something else. You've got pushback from the black pill people or the sort of game denialists. That's something else. You've probably got pushback from like white knights. I mean, there's pushback from a whole different range of people for different reasons. And a lot of them are wrong, in my opinion, but they're wrong for different reasons. So it's quite a nuanced thing. It's not a simple, there's not a simple answer of saying, well, the manosphere is right and they're wrong because of this. Because for a start, the manosphere is splintered anyway. And secondly, the response to the manosphere, the criticism of the manosphere is also splintered because it's, I mean, and there's crossover and, you know, and my friend is, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend or whatever. So in a strange way, you'll get almost an agreement between, say, feminists and black pill incel people of like, oh, these manosphere people are bad, blah blah blah, because they don't like aspects of the message. But those two, they're coming at it for very different reasons, and those groups aren't really aligned. So it's a very nuanced question, if that makes sense. You know, I don't think. I think there are certain truths. I'm saying this as an old guy who, you know, I've been around for a long time. I've seen a lot of shit. You know, I've been in a lot of relationships. I've dated a lot. I've also taught a lot of guys. I've worked with a lot of guys. Blah blah blah. You know, whatever. I've seen a lot of stuff. I think there are certain truths which are, in my view, fairly undeniable, and I don't think that this is kind of a fashion thing where it's like, oh, you know, this RP stuff, it used to be fashionable, but now it's all about this. And it's going to there's going to be some complete transformation of reality. I just don't think that's the case. I think some things are kind of, this is just the way it is. So yeah, you know, as I say, I'm sorry to be vague and kind of all over the place, but it depends on the nature of the criticism, really. Maybe you can be a bit more specific in another comment. But there is a lot of pushback. You're right. I mean, there's a lot of people having a pop. But you've got people like Destiny, haven't you? Who I might be meeting next week, actually, because I know a friend of it, so I might be meeting up with Destiny, and you know, he's an interesting character. So you've got pushback from people like that who are on the left and have objections. But then you've also got pushback, as I say, from the people like the tradcons who are more on the right, and they think that the red pill is pushing degeneracy, you know, and they think, well, no, because it should all be about the traditional family unit and blah blah blah, and these red pill people are, you know, they're causing the downfall of society and stuff. And it's like, well, for a start, that's not necessarily the case, because a lot of people who are red pill or they're in the manosphere are married, so that doesn't make any sense. And the red pill is not about running around and you know, being promiscuous necessarily. I mean, it's at its core, it's meant to be about the reality, the objective reality of intergender dynamics. Okay. So you've got these tradcons who are objecting as well, even though they're on the right. So the right and the left object to the. I mean, I always say that the dating coach is probably the most hated of all online figures, or the most hated of all professions, really, because the dating coach, which is sort of aligned with the right red pill, I suppose, is hated by the feminists. He's hated by the tradcons. He's hated by who else is there? You know, leftists, obviously, but he's hated by the conservative right. I mean, there's, you know, it's almost like you can't. It's hard to think of a more maligned group of people than the dating coaches, which is absurd, really, but that's just how it is. RP and Manosphere are not the same, yet people fuse them together. That's true. Heck, Destiny is repelled as it gets based on his lifestyle. Well, yes, that's true. Also, you know, that's another very interesting point. People have said that, because if you look at Destiny's lifestyle, so Destiny is a man who, well, he's in an open marriage, let's say. He's married to Melina, who's a very attractive woman, but he also, you know, is promiscuous and has lots of action with other women and apparently men as well, but, you know, who knows the details. So yeah, I mean, in a way, he's having his cake and eating it, isn't he? And in many ways, yeah, I mean, and he's his self-created millionaire. You know, MLD made all these points on that whatever podcast, didn't he? The only thing that people have a big issue with Destiny is the poly nature, you know, the double-ended openness of that relationship. I mean, I don't really comment on that. I mean, it's his business. It's nothing to do with me. It wouldn't be my choice, but you know, but there it is. But yeah, no, I agree. So, and you're right. I mean, there is this conflation. But what is the manosphere anyway? It's a stupid kind of made-up term. I mean, it's a vague coagulation of different content creators with different points of view. I mean, if you look at, ironically, if you want to think about, well, who is arguing for degeneracy here, it's probably me more than anybody. I'm not a big content creator, but I mean, if anybody's arguing for degeneracy, it's me and maybe James Tusk, because we kind of are saying, well, why not just get on a plane and rampage around and have a great time? You know, most of the other people that I work with in this space aren't. If you look at Rolling Tomasi, I mean, he's not really saying that. I mean, he's not saying don't do that either, to be fair. Where's my Coke gone? Oh, here we go. Not Coke, not like Zerka Coke. I mean, like Diet Coke. Ryan Stone isn't saying that, you know. Paul Come On Man podcast, I don't think he's saying that. I mean, I can't think of anybody who's really saying run around and be degenerate, except me. And I mean, sometimes I actually will say in tweets, degeneracy is good, you know, be degenerate. I'm mainly saying it to piss people off, but you know, I sort of also kind of believe it, because if you want to look at my own personal philosophy, you know, I kind of think, well, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Life is kind of random. It's kind of a bit meaningless. You might as well enjoy it as much as you can. You might as well suck the juice out of it to the greatest extent possible. And you know, part of that is enjoying the sensual pleasures of life, right, in all of their glory. Now, that's not to exclude anything else. That's not to exclude, you know, the value of hard work and, you know, creating something meaningful, of course. But I mean, that's also a way to derive pleasure, right? I mean, in the end, pleasure is the key thing, really. Also, spirituality, right? I mean, spirituality is important, but again, I mean, you could argue, well, spirituality is another form of pleasure, isn't it, really? These are all sort of ways in which we increase our dopamine, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what studies have been done in terms of religion and dopamine, but it's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? I'm sure people probably, I wonder if it's ever been measured. If anybody knows of any studies about that, actually, let me know. That'd be really interesting. But I wonder if churchgoers or people going to religious ceremonies, if it's been measured, what the effect on their dopamine is. But I bet you it spikes it. You know, I bet you it has some of, you know, it must have some effect, right? So all of these things, really, I mean, we look down on casual sex because we think, well, casual sex is bad, going to church good. But going shopping is, buying loads of frivolous items is bad, but I don't know. Altruism is good, but it might be that both of those things are spiking our dopamine, really, and they're just people choose their own source, if you like. I'm thinking aloud here, but maybe you get what I'm saying. So anyway, I've always been a bit of a hedonist, really, and hedonism for some reason now has become a dirty word, particularly amongst younger people than me. I mean, you've got Zoomers who are, oh my god, this degenerate. I mean, I get slated by some of these tradcon people sometimes, and they're all about 17. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous, I mean, I'm actually getting, and you've got these like content creators who are like, oh, I know Christ is king and get married, and oh, I've been with my girlfriend for 6 months, but these red pill guys don't know what love means and blah blah blah. It's like, well, fuck you. I know what love means. I know what love means probably more than you. I mean, I'm a lot older. I've probably been in longer relationships, but and then you've got their brain dead followers who are all about 19 or something, like, yeah, look at these boomer degenerates, they don't know what they're fucking talking about, man. And it's like, well, you don't, with respect, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because the reality, unfortunately, is that, about 50% of first marriages fail. If you look at second marriages and third marriages, it goes up significantly. You're talking 70 to 80%. I mean, long-term monogamy is very difficult, okay, because human beings are unfortunately wired to want variety. All right. So the trad dream of like, well, just find a good quality woman and build with her and, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, maybe it can work in a minority of cases, but, I mean, like, I've got to say, and I'm being completely honest with you, I look around at people I know in real life and friends I have and stuff like that. And most of my friends who were married in their early 20s are divorced now, most of them. Or 30s, and some of them are second marriages and stuff like that. I mean, and even guys, let's say when I was doing corporate work and I was friends with a lot of like married guys and stuff. And I mean, none of them were punching the air and talking about how fucking amazing it was. I mean, so I'm not convinced that is this kind of stellar route to happiness that people claim it is, but I also accept the proposition that going out and just banging random girls for your entire life is also not a route to it's not a route to Valhalla, is it? But in the end, I mean, as I say, you kind of choose your own poison, don't you? And I think we are wired to want variety. I mean, the problem is, as I always say, we're wired to want variety. We're also wired to want security and kind of the snuggles or whatever, to put it in colloquial terms. So we have these opposing desires, and it's difficult to contain those both in a long-term relationship, because as much as you, and particularly for men, because as much as you love your wife, as much as you love your girlfriend and she's amazing and blah blah blah, the reality is, you see the cute cashier in the supermarket or whatever, and you're gonna that's going to affect you. Okay, so no easy answers, gents, I'm afraid. But anyway, as coming back to this, so yeah, I mean, there's a very sort of fragmented set of different ideas here. Most of the people, to be honest, I think are actually more on the, I mean, of any content creator, apart from John Zerka, who's obviously become, very, very big very quickly. I'm not really sure entirely what his message is. I mean, it's not really, but my message, in a way, in a sort of small way, is probably one of the more subversive, because my message has always been less about, I mean, it is kind of about self-improvement, because you've got to self-improve in order to have a seat at the table. You've got to, I mean, contrary to popular belief, I do actually go to the gym. I do try and look after myself. I mean, I'm about 900 years old now. I'm probably older than most people watching this, and I think I'm in pretty good nick, So, yeah, you've got to work on yourself. You've got to look after yourself. But in the end, but the reason for doing that is to the service ultimately of pleasure, you know, having a good time. Because if you're a fat old, you know, wastrel, then you're not really going to be out in the clubs in Miami. And not that I am either, right? I mean, I'm not a club man anymore, really, but for the most part. But you know, you're not really going to be given. You're not. Your relevancy is going to be compromised. Okay, so you've got to try and keep that relevancy to an extent. I mean, age gracefully. We've got to try and maintain some degree of relevancy. All right. But it's at the service ultimately of pleasure, and I don't, you know, which is kind of a quite subversive message in this space, I think. RP is the idea versus Manosphere is the content creation and coaching. Well, yeah, I suppose so. I suppose you could say that. Self-improvement is nice, but it doesn't lead to hot women, says Jay. Chemistry leads to a hot woman. I think, yeah, you always say this, Jay, but I think that chemistry is what happens between two people. I think you mean charisma, really, don't you? You know? Because you can't have chemistry. Can you have chemistry on your own? I don't really think you can. We talk about chemistry between two people. Or like, what is the chemistry between us? Not me and you, Jay. I mean, just like between two people. And I'm not sure that somebody has chemistry on their own. I think it's more charisma or whatever you want to call it. Riz is the new, what the kids are saying, I think. All right. Any other questions? Any other thoughts that you want to put into the chat that we can talk about? Well, a few things coming up then. So obviously training events. Oh, well, here we go. Hang on. Here we go. What's the next thing? Grift. I'm thinking TikTok therapist. I don't know really. I mean, what does grift even mean? I mean, grift now seems to just mean anybody who sells a service and talks about it on social media is a grift. I mean, like I don't even really. The word has lost meaning now because people overuse it so much. But in terms of TikTok, I'm not really people. If people have looked at my TikTok, it's incredibly small. There's about 500 people on there. You know, I'm probably not the right demo. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not very TikTok savvy, to be honest. I'm thinking of I mean, I still upload stuff on there. I'm not really getting any traction. I'm not that interested in TikTok. Being a TikTok therapist, well, yeah. I mean, you can be anything on TikTok, can't you? Because it's a platform like any other, and people market their services. You could probably be a TikTok plumber, you know. So that could be a grift, but I don't know. You click with the women. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, isn't that just charisma? I don't know. Maybe I'm being pedantic here, probably. I don't know that. Jay, I love you. Please keep coming back. Give me some money as well, that would be great. But you know, please keep coming back. Any other questions and thoughts? So yeah, we've got next week, Miami, Thursday till Sunday. A couple of guys already I'm working with. If you would like to come along, there's only room for one more person at the most, because one of the guys only doing a couple of days, so we can squeeze somebody in, and that's it. If you're in Miami, or you can get to Miami, come along next week. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and put Miami in the subject line, and we can have a talk about that. If you want to come to Vegas, the greatest city on the fucking planet for debauchery and degeneracy, Sin City, the following week, from the 10th to the 13th of August, then drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and write Vegas in the subject line. And the other thing, of course, is that the Edge is open at the moment. It's open for pre-orders right now. Now, we probably messed up the marketing with this, to be honest, because in my Telegram group, everyone's going, "Oh my God, you got that course and it costs $50,000 to come in, and you know, it costs £50,000 for that course and blah blah blah." Look, let's. If you want to join the Edge, you can join the online course, and you get 6 weeks of online webinars, private webinars with myself and Tusk, plus a private WhatsApp chat with us, and it costs £797. Okay, and the Edge is a fucking great course. Okay, we did it last year. It was super successful. Okay, we had a whole bunch of guys in there. and over 60 guys came in. And basically, what it teaches you is how to not be a flannel. All right. Somebody asked that earlier. We've been using this term flannel. It basically means somebody who's a bit of a simp, a bit of a soy boy. Okay. Because, and this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning in terms of the way you're presenting yourself in dating. Because a lot of guys, even if they are approaching, which is a minority of guys, even if they are approaching, they're approaching in a very nice guy kind of fashion. They're not really bringing any vibe. They're not, as Jay would say, they're not bringing any chemistry into the interaction. Okay. So what the Edge does is it teaches you chemistry, basically. And a lot of this stuff comes down to innate raw masculinity. Okay. Are you coming across in a masculine, powerful, dominant kind of fashion? And if you're not, that's a problem. And even if you're doing a lot of approaches, you're probably going to end up getting friend zoned a lot or flaked on or, dates going to nowhere and blah, 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 because you're putting yourself across in the wrong way. All right. So the Edge corrects that. All right. We've got a whole bunch of, we've got over 2 hours worth now of video content modules within the course itself. Okay. That you'll get access to. You can work through at your own pace. And then we're going to be doing 6 weeks of webinars, myself and James Tusk. Okay. Live webinars, private on Zoom, just for the group. Okay. And we're going to be teaching you everything that you need to know about this stuff. Okay. And you can ask us questions and it's going to be interactive and we'll help you out on a more personal level. Okay. £797. Okay. You can join that course, but you need to join before the 1st of August. Otherwise, because then the costs are going to go up. Okay. So that's the main tier. There's also another tier where you come on a boot camp with us, which is going to be in Colombia in October. Okay, that's 2,797 at the moment. And then there's a top tier, which is where you get a 6-month transformation program with us. But that's the 50K thing, but that's only for a couple of guys if we do it. Okay, because it's only going to be for people who can afford it, and also if they're not a complete flannel to begin with. So the criteria for that is very high. So you can almost, if you're watching this now and you're a multi-millionaire, maybe you made a load of money in crypto and you're thinking, yeah, man, I really want to sort of do this complete transformation, get 6 months personal attention with Tusk and Troy, then that's for you. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. But for the vast majority of people, that's just going to be completely irrelevant. That's just not what you're looking for. Okay. What you probably want is just the digital course and the webinars. Okay. And that's only 797. So if you're interested in that, again, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can get you into that. But there's only 20 places for that, and I think about 15 of them have gone now. So there's only a few places left in that anyway. So drop me an email on that as well. What else have we got here? Services and mentorship get tainted after a while, and now people hate. Well, they hate. I mean, yeah, and I mean, look, I mean, it's. I don't even know what to say about that really, because I'm on the other side of it. So my view of it is unbiased, but is obviously is biased. But I know for myself, that I work very hard. I try to put out good quality content, and I really help people. And I've got video testimonials now showing that. I've got written testimonials showing that. You can talk to my former clients, and people that I've actually worked with. I mean, I'm giving a lot of value here, and obviously, I can't do it for free. As much as I would like to, I can't do it for free because I've only got a finite amount of time, and I've got to pay for my, I've got to pay for my fancy robes. I mean, look at that. This stuff doesn't come cheap. There's a cost attached to it. But to say it's a grift is to sort of imply that it's somehow, it's disingenuous, or you're not giving people the real value and stuff like that. And that's just not true. Certainly not true for me. And it's not true for the people that I work with as well. I mean, I know a lot of the people who work in this space. As I said, I mean, we talk about Marin and Fresh. We'll talk about, James Tusk. We'll talk about MLD. We'll talk about like Rollo. I mean, all of these people are nobody conning people. Everyone's working bloody hard. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a lot of knowledge. They're imparting that in a professional manner, and they're asking for fair payment for it. So none of that stuff's a grift. I mean, I'm not saying there are no grifters on the internet. I mean, of course there are, but I mean, it's just absurd, really, because it's like assuming anybody who sells anything is a con man, and that's just obviously not true. DigiNomad says, would you deem yourself and Tusk as passport bros or more or less DigiNomads? DigiNomads. Well, I mean, nuanced question. I mean, so a passport bro, I think, is somebody who travels basically, for dating or for hooking up. And a digital nomad is somebody who travels and works remotely, So it's a slightly different thing, although they do cross over. I mean, I don't know, really. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a passport bro. I mean, again, it's a term that's, been used a lot, and it's a very pejorative term now. But as we always say, what's wrong with getting on a plane, and going and enjoying the fruits of another country, enjoying the social life and the romantic life in another country? I just don't see what the big problem with that is, really. I think it seems like a bit of a no-brainer, really. So I'm kind of a bit of a passport bro. I'm also I've sort of been a digital nomad, but I'm based in London, so I'm not even really that. I'm somebody who travels quite a lot for work. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. Are you thinking of bringing Paul Janko? I thought, I couldn't see properly. I thought you said, are you thinking of banging Paul Janko? I was like, well, no, probably not really. Not really my type. But, well, I've done stuff with Paul before. I mean, yeah, maybe we could do something. I mean, I'm not sure really. I never quite know whether he's still active or not as far as the game stuff's concerned. I think he is doing some stuff at the moment. So maybe, we could have a conversation again. This is juicy. I'm at the same uni as Wheat Waffles. There's an anonymous confession board for students called Brumfest that we all use. I noticed a surprising number of guys that are anonymously complain about dating. Right, okay. But what about Wheat Waffles himself? Do you want to spill the tea, as they say, on Wheat Waffles? Is he a popular guy? I mean, he seems like a nice guy. And the funny thing about him is he's quite a decent looking guy, isn't he? And I think he's got a girlfriend. So why he was the king of the black pill community, I've got no idea. But so a lot of people are complaining about dating. But what are they complaining about? What aspects specifically about dating are they complaining about? That it's really hard, or what? I thought you were going to say they were complaining about him, or girls were complaining about him or something, but you're not talking. So they're complaining about dating. So that's interesting. But what about dating are they saying is the problem? Yeah, Jay says people are afraid of being used for a green card. Well, they are. But I mean, look, you don't have to marry these women. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm not. Well, for a start, I'm not American, so nobody can use me for a green card anyway. But even if I was, I wouldn't be walking into Colombia thinking, oh my God, what if somebody uses me for a green card? Because, I'm going to stop it before it gets to that fucking level, aren't I? Unless you're in scarcity and you don't have emotional control and you meet some girl in Brazil or something, like, oh my God, she's amazing, I've got to marry her. But that's not how you want to be going. Like that, if you're doing that, you're probably inexperienced, or you don't really know what you're doing, or you're living in scarcity. You don't understand how this stuff works, and you're doing it wrong. To be frank. So and yeah, I mean, guys, don't get me wrong. I mean, guys do that, and they mess up, and they end up in undesirable situations. But it shouldn't be like that. I mean, I've traveled quite a lot. I've dated quite a lot abroad. I haven't married anybody. Nobody used me for British citizenship, and it's been absolutely fine. So it's not inevitable that that's going to be a problem. That's only a problem if you allow that to be a problem. Janka teaches transition to family life now. Yeah, he's got this course. I think it's called Playboy to Papa or something like that. Julian took the dad pill. How much has dating changed for you in the past decade? Do you meditate? I remember Tyler saying how helpful it was. Well, dating hasn't really changed very much for me at all, because I'm in this, well, as haters will say on Twitter, I'm like perpetual adolescent, I think somebody said. So dating hasn't really changed a huge amount for me. I do meditate sometimes, and I should meditate more, because it's a really good thing to do. But I'm a bit undisciplined with it, so I need to get back on board with that. But yeah, that meditating, good thing to do. Should be doing it. I should be doing it. Let's all meditate. Maybe we can have a meditation session on here one day. Jay says, when's Ottawa going to be on your map? I don't know. No plans, to be honest. And then he's like, come to gaming Canada, sir. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not really. I don't know, man. It's just not really the top of the list. Maybe Jay, you can host me and give me a VIP welcome or something, and I'll come and stay for a bit. But it's not. I don't know, man. It's not really. When I'm thinking about, okay, so where could I possibly go? It's just not. I'm not there. Oh yeah, man. Oh man, Canada. That's going to be like a hotbed of sexual intrigue and romance, and it's just not really up there. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe it should be over there. He's saying, how is the slaying? Your connection is not very good. My connection is never very good. That's just how it is. But I am in a good hotel. A lot of players from Toronto. Austin Summers, Mystery, Tyler. On his signal. Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah. Yeah, man. What can you say? Well, maybe. But I mean, I don't see Mystery offering many boot camps in Canada, to be honest. I mean, Mystery's always in like bloody Eastern Europe or, I mean, anywhere on the planet except for Canada, to be frank. Calgary is nice. Well, apparently, I mean, look, I've got a client actually who's a really, really, really cool guy, John, and he's from Canada, and he is extolling the virtues of Canada. I'm sure, sure, it's a beautiful place, amazing. I don't know about the dating scene. I mean, I just, it seems to me to be sort of like a slightly worse United States, but maybe that's just my, prejudice. My dude, you're in your 40s. How is the game at that stage? Good hairline, though. Thank you. Well, I mean, it's fine, man. I mean, it's, like, as I've said, I mean, I spent a lot of the last year or so making a load of videos saying how much I was over it, to be honest. And people are like, yo, dude, are you still slaying it? I'm like, I've made a fucking shitload of videos saying I'm over it and I'm not that interested in dating anymore. Now, these things come and go. I mean, I'm a little bit more in the groove now, let's say. But my main focus is content creation and helping guys, to be honest. I mean, I've had a lot of experience, and I still go out. I still go out. Because obviously I have to teach guys. I have to be sharp. I have to be going out there and and knowing what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, of course I date, but it's I think your priorities change, or at least they should change. To be exactly the same as I was when I was in my 20s, running around like a crazed lunatic, would be just ridiculous. And I wouldn't want it. Do you know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't want to be like that, really. As I say, it's Friday night. I'm not out there partying. I'm not in the club like the 40-year-old guy in the club, like, hey, ladies, and, double fisting or whatever you Americans say. I mean, I'm here sitting talking to you lot because that's the focus really is on content creation and it's on helping other guys. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, look, if you keep yourself, if you look after yourself, then you can certainly, be relevant into your 40s. And I think, well, let's see, but I think beyond. 50s probably, 60s. I don't know. You're going to slow down, man. You go for girls in 30s or 20s. Most of the girls I've dated have tended to be in their 20s, but 30s as well. 30s as well. Mystery disappeared. Well, no, he's still around. He's doing stuff. Him and Rob Baxter are doing stuff. They've got their own, I think, website thing now, forum thing. I'm not exactly sure. I'm on their mailing list, but no, he's around. He's doing stuff, but not in Canada. Not in Canada. Maybe Jay can explain why Mystery is not. I mean, if Canada's so great, why isn't Mystery one of the great exponents of the great exports of Canada? Why is he not offering wall-to-wall boot camps in Canada? I mean, it can't be that great, can it? Greetings from the crinkling edge of the third world. Where's that? My bad. I thought you were slaying. Well, I mean, listen, man. I mean, it's a look. I'm an English gentleman. It's a little bit of a crude. Hey, bro, are you slaying? I mean, fucking hell, man. I'm a middle-aged English gentleman. I mean, I don't think I've ever slayed. You know, I've maybe been intimate with some young ladies, but I don't think slaying is slaying George the Dragon. You know, but no, I mean, I'm out there, I'm doing stuff, I'm dating, but I mean, all I'm saying is, I'm not like, I mean, how old was that Austin Summers dude? Like fucking 19 or something? I'm not sneaker. Do you know what I mean? Like at some point, his priorities have changed. At some point, priorities change, and you're not. I know a lot about intergender dynamics. I know a lot about the art of seduction, as Robert Greene would say. Okay, it doesn't mean I'm hitting the club every weekend. So yeah, does that make sense? Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, I do fine. I do very, very well for a guy of my age. And I think, all jokes aside about the gym and all that, I think I'm in pretty good nick for a guy of my age, right? And I do very well. But is it my main focus? Well, as I say, I'm very focused on content creation. I'm very focused on serving you guys. How's it going with the writing? Any new book recommendations? Well, I've got something. I'm gonna be starting on something new now, which is going to be game related. Okay. So yeah, watch this space for that. Recommendations. I don't know really. Not really. What can I say, man? I've been reading some Dickens. Nothing game as such. I mean, I was reading actually. All right, the only thing I could think of offhand is Patrick Bet-David, Your 5 Next Moves. That's quite good. That's quite interesting. Obviously, I was on that Valuetainment the other day, which is his. I mean, I wasn't interviewed with him, but it's his business. Yeah. So your next 5 moves, I think it's called, by Patrick Bet-David. That's quite a good book. It's more of a business thing, really, but it kind of crosses over into personal life as well. Does your country have a TV dating show? Yeah, it does. His info's a little outdated in regard to mystery. Yeah, probably it is, yeah. Justin Trudeau. Troy Francis chased him out. How often? What a question. How often and under what circumstances have girls told you they love you? Quite a few times. And I don't know, what do you mean? I'm just when we've been dating and they've liked me. They like it's pretty standard stuff, really. How old are you, man? 47. I heard that mostly guys say "I love you" first. Who? Average is about 3 months in. Well, maybe they do, but they shouldn't. You should. Yeah, be careful about that. You should really. You kind of want her to say it first, really. Or at least you want her to elicit it from you, and in a way that that she basically loves you and she wants to hear you say it. You don't want to be like blurting it, "Oh, I love you," too early on, because unfortunately, and it's like offering commitment and stuff like that. If you're too early on, you're like, "Oh, can we be exclusive?" You want her to be asking you to be exclusive, not you to be asking her to be exclusive. Okay, because you want that genuine desire from her. If you're seen to be trying to lock her down, unfortunately, in this current dating marketplace, a lot of girls can take that as, well, he's a bit needy. Am I his best option? Can he not meet any other girls? Like, what's his, and she might start to lose attraction for you. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that. Don't you get attached, my dude? Don't you hurt from the exes? Yeah, of course I do. Watch my old videos, man. Jesus. I mean, yeah, absolutely. But, what can you do? I also don't particularly want to get married and, all of that shit. So, interested in dating 19-year-old woman, sir. Fresh. That's from the Far Show, isn't it? No, not really. I mean, look, man, I'm not, I want to date women who are sophisticated and age appropriate to a degree, and who are, got something about them, man. I'm not I'm not looking for 19-year-olds. Yeah. The talisman Tristan Tate spoke highly about Troy and vouched for him. He doesn't like it. Guys pod. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, no, Tristan's a great guy. I've been in contact with him recently, so you know, I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens with to those guys. It's a tricky situation. Jean-Jacques Ferron says marriage is hard, uncomfortable, and yet very underrated. Well, is it? Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know, man. It's I don't know. Seems to end a lot, though, doesn't it? I mean, I know they're saying the divorce rate apparently has gone down a bit, but then the marriage rate, the rate of marriages has also gone down in the last few years. And apparently, they say millennials are sticking it out more than the older generation did. So, if you want to put a positive spin, you could say, well, maybe people are taking the vows more seriously now. But I just wonder whether the millennial marriages have had long enough. I mean, you've got to look at it on a long timeline. It's not just, oh, we've been married for 5 years, so great, or we've been married for 2 years and we're having a great time. I mean, yeah, of course. What happens when you get to 20 years, 25 years? Like real hard labor. I've been with some 40s and 50s girls, and I hurt when well, Jesus Christ. I've been with some 40s and 50s girls, and I hurt when each of them gets into a relationship. I'm attached as F, but I keep making new relationships. There's too many girls out there. Well, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, oh yeah. I don't know what to say to that, really. I mean, that's not really my demographic. J21, have you dated modern women? Innocent isn't a descriptor. I don't think J21, I think he's stuck in the I don't even know what decade really, like maybe the 1970s or something, maybe. But Jay says, first 2 years of marriage are great. After 2 years, it's all hard work. Have you been married, Jay? Oh, 40 or 50 is a number, not 8. Okay, fine, fair enough. Right, I get it. Okay. Ages of 25, less than 25 always. Yeah, okay, right, fine, I get it. I wonder if Jay's been married. Jay sounds like he's sort of, maybe 80s actually. Jay sort of sounds like he's in an 80s sitcom all the time, like Taxi or some like random sort of, or Cheers or something random kind of like 80s sitcom kind of character. I suspect, from that comment, I suspect that he's been married. And this is the thing, isn't it? Because like Black Dragon always used to say, like the first few years, great. I mean, monogamy's great. I've been in monogamous relationships, right? I mean, yeah, of course. First 2 years, fucking great. Brilliant, like she's sexy, you guys are having amazing sex. It's good times. I mean, that's why they call it the honeymoon period. And it can go on for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. In the end, I'm afraid reality starts to bite. And when reality starts to bite, then the sort of like people looking around, the guy looking around thinking, well, did I, but more pertinently, perhaps for us, the woman looking around thinking, well, was he really the best I could do? What about Brad in accounts? Is he, maybe he would have been a better option, and maybe I can just fall on his dick for a while and see. Do you know what I mean? Like it's, you've got to measure this over a long timeline, and over a long timeline, I think, unless, of course, you get to that point where you guys, it's gone into more of a friendship, but you're both cool with that, and you support each other, and you're there for each other, and that is a beautiful thing. That sounds wonderful, but my only concern with that is you both got to keep up your end of the bargain. You've got to keep it up, but she's also got to keep it up. And how do you know she's going to, because we see now there's an upsurge in grey divorce. Suddenly people in their 60s are getting divorced, people in their 70s. I mean, you kind of think, well, I mean, I'm saying that I'm getting on a bit now. Maybe I should not think like this, really. I suppose 60s, you think, well, I've still got, a couple of decades left, I want to make the most of it, right? I don't really want to be in a situation where I've been with somebody for 20 years and then she just goes, do you know what? I think I'm going to give it a go out there again. See you later. Do you know what I mean? I just don't really want to be emotionally in that situation, and I think, and it fucks a lot of people up. It really does. And unfortunately, it's not only possible to happen, but it's actually quite likely to happen because, as I say, well, we all know the divorce stat. Really, the average is about 50%, but for second and third marriages, it's even higher. I don't really see an easy answer to this stuff, guys. I'm afraid. Turkey is top shelf. I've never met Sam. Oh, we're talking. Sorry, we're talking. This is the real name of Mr. Waffles, is it? I've never met Sam, but I've seen him in some of the uni group chats. He looked like a normal guy in mixed gender friend groups doing normal uni stuff. He didn't look like a stereotypical. Well, he's not though, is he? He's not an incel. That's the point. I mean, I'm in a chat with him, with Tusk, and he seems like a decent guy. I mean, like I've done some live streams with him and stuff like that. He seems like he seems like an alright guy, but I mean, he's been successful. He's been very successful on YouTube. Second marriages are set to fail. It's been said in American news. You'll notice that Jay hasn't answered the question about if he's been married or if he's an American 1980s sitcom character. What I did notice was that a lot of the guys who liked the confessions about dating struggles didn't look like the kind of guys who would struggle with dating. I think guys are secretive about dating. What, you mean they're exaggerating their results? So did you answer the question about what are the problems that they're saying? Are they presumably they're just saying dating's really hard? What are they saying is the problem? What are their complaints about dating? 1910. What do you mean? Were you born in 1910? That's what? So you're like 120, 100 and whatever. I mean, dating is very hard now, and I'm very, very glad that I'm not of that age, that uni age, because I think, I mean, it's quite good for me now because, as I've said, I mean, in a way, because you kind of get old and decrepit, and you're just, like I said, less bothered, really. So I'm not like slaying, it's like, oh my god, are you slaying? I mean, yeah, I am to some extent, but I'm not. I don't have that same. It's not. How can I put it? It's just not. It doesn't have that same white hot kind of pull on me that it used to have. Do you know what I mean? And plus, I'm not really dating in. Well, I'm not really dating. I mean, I am a little bit, but I'm not really dating the UK. And I'm just. It's just sort of different when you get to my age and in my situation. And if I was a guy, and I'm living in a small city in England or America, and you've got to put up with a lot of the crap that goes around now. It must be very, very hard. I do have sympathy for people. Oh, the mentality, yeah, absolutely. I got married because all other options felt like cowardice. Once their slowly expiring option of kids. I got married because all other options felt like cowardice. Once the slowly expiring options of kids needed a better answer, that why inflict more humans on the planet? I'm not sure quite what you mean by that. Are you arguing for having kids or for not having kids? So I asked my dad, what was it like having kids for you? It bursts out of him like God from the Big Bang. The most enwisening experience of my life. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm certain it is. But I mean, do you have kids? Are you presumably you're planning to have kids? Anyway, we're not necessarily well, marriage and kids are two different things, aren't we? We're not necessarily talking that almost. I know they're interrelated, but they're sort of two separate discussions. Really, we haven't really been talking about kids much on this stream. We're talking really about relationships, long-term relationships, which are difficult. That's been the main point of contention. The kids, of course, are a big thing. You've got to think about that. But a lot of guys I know, they want to have kids, but they don't want to get married, or certainly they don't want to get married in a conventional way in the West. I know guys who, they want to have kids and they want to continue to, to travel around and have a good time and support those kids and love those kids, but they don't want that conventional domestic setup. And I don't really blame them for that, to be honest. I mean, the big thing that's always the big thing that I've always found difficult, I think, is the domesticity as much as anything. I think domesticity is, well, it's proven to be fundamentally unmasculine in the sense that men's testosterone drops when they're in that domesticated situation. It's like domesticating an animal, isn't it? And plus, when you live together with somebody, it invariably takes its toll on the relationship, unfortunately. Right. Okay. So Rakesh says, planning any day game boot camps in New York in the upcoming year. I might be doing something. I might be doing something in August. So, are you based in New York? Presumably, I'm assuming you are. But I might be going to New York week commencing the 14th of August. Yeah, 14th of August. So that would mean that week, 14th of August to the 20th of August. So it would probably be 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, doing training in New York City. That is certainly a possibility. I haven't confirmed that yet, but that is certainly a possibility. So, Mr. Patel, if you are interested in doing some training, then email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and let's have a chat about it, because that is a possibility, because I have something that I need to do in New York, and so I was looking to do some coaching over there. Yeah, so that could well be something that's going to happen. So drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and let's have a conversation, and we can maybe get something locked in. If you were a guy, oh shit. I read 1984. I thought the good guys would win. Maybe Remnant Blue Pill still. Yeah, 1984 is a great book. Everyone should read that if you haven't read it. Totally worth it. Having kids, I think. Troy has no kids and don't want no kids. Well, look, I mean, that's a very personal thing for me. I mean, like, I've never been particularly paternal. It's not really been, I'm not, oh my God, it's probably a no from me, to be honest, because I quite like the kind of lifestyle that I have. It's not a definite no, but it's probably a no. It's never been something that's been particularly high on my agenda. I know that's not the case for most people. I think I recently heard a statistic. I think in the UK, it was about 20% of people are childless. But as I said, I mean, I've always been a bit of a lone wolf. I've always been allergic to domesticity, and I've got a bloody good lifestyle, to be honest. I get to do kind of what I want to do. I get to travel around, and I'm not sure that it's it's something I want to give up at this stage. And there are other things as well. There are other issues as well, but I mean, not issues, but there are other sort of things that I think about it that I'm not going to necessarily go into now. But yeah, man, I mean, it's, but it's a personal choice for everybody, right? If you like wisdom, all right. So if you like wisdom, then have kids. Okay. I mean, you could just read some books, couldn't you? Once a man hits his 40s without kids, it's statistically very improbable for him to have them later on. What do you think? Well, I don't know. Is that statistically proven? It sounds right, but I haven't seen any stats on that. Don't you feel afraid of loneliness later in life? Well, I think that's a very bad reason to have children, to be honest. If you're having children basically out of fear because you're worried about being lonely later in life, I don't think that's the right reason to be doing it. I think that's quite irresponsible. You know, and I don't mean to call you out, William, but it's just I don't think. I mean, that might be a peripheral thing in the back of your mind, but I don't think that should be the key reason to bring another human life into the world. And no, I think a man should be prepared to, you know, look aging and death in the eye and stand up and face it bravely. I don't think that we should be, you know, cowed by things like that. And plus, you know, I know a lot of older guys, and they either don't have kids or they don't see their kids anymore, and they're not lonely. They've got a social network. They're fine, you know. So yeah, those are some thoughts on that. Oh right, that's okay. Are women really looking for a perfect man? What are they looking for? The perfect specimen? They're looking for me. They're looking for you, Jay. Love and respect. Thanks, man. Keen to see you in South Africa. Well, yeah, at some point. At some point. Brave and wise words, my friend. Yeah, man. No, I mean, look, I'm not being a fucking. Look, it's a very big fucking thing, and people rightly will say, look, the whole reason we're on the planet really is to procreate, and that's true from a species point. You know, the only reason as the species we're here to procreate and maintain the species. That's absolutely true. On an individual level, though, I think it's slightly different because as an individual, you know, I'm going to be dead soon anyway. In a few decades, if I'm lucky, I'm going to last, and then I'm going to be dead. So for me, the continuation of the species, really, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be around to see it. So that's not really a primary concern of mine. My primary concern is, okay, so what value can I bring to the world? What sort of good can I do? Is bringing a child into the world the most optimal thing? Maybe not for me. I don't know. I mean, you know, it's different for everybody. I think it's a very personal thing. If you can't have a loving wife, don't have kids. Okay. Unvaccinated MGTOW Fitness. Awesome username. Cool, man. All right, cool. Well, look, unless there's any other questions, I'll tell you what, actually, let me just see if I can bring something up. If there's any other questions, put them in the chat now, actually. I just want to see if I can do this while we're on. Because, as I say, the edge is imminent. And why is that not? I want to see if I can. Okay, right. Let me just see if this works. I want to see if I can show you this trailer. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Let me see if I can show you this. Share screen. Right, here we go. Oh no. Maybe I did that wrong. Hang on, so just check this. Sorry about this, guys. Talk amongst yourself. I'll put comments in the chat. Is Miami a good place for picking up Raoul Modes? Jesus Christ! What a fucking ridiculous name! What a ridiculous fake anon account. Miami is a good place if you are jacked and probably quite rich, I would say. What is that? Raoul Mode. Jesus Christ, guys. Right, let me see if I can do this again. I need to make sure that the yes, the audio's on. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Let's see if we can watch this trailer. Hold on.
2 million years of evolution, and the biggest problem facing men today in the sexual marketplace is that they are flannels. They don't have fundamental core masculinity, which is why we are bringing our course, The Edge, out once again. The Edge 2.0 is the course that is going to take you from zero to hero in the dating marketplace and massively accelerate your masculinity.
6-week actionable course, Edge version 2, only 20 spots available, pre-sale price £797. Edge plus Bootcamp, 4 spaces available. You get the full 6-week course of the Edge, plus a debauched Bootcamp at a secret South American location. It's not faint-hearted. And then 2 6-month mentorships taking you from ultimate flannel to ultimate bad man beast. That's open to just 2 guys, £27,797. Email us, include your WhatsApp.
Details below. From flannel to freedom fighter. Let's go. The Edge version 2.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So if you saw that, I'm going to put that on YouTube, but that's on my Instagram. That trailer, I think, simplifies it quite a lot. So basically, The Edge is out now for pre-order. It's a 6-week course with myself and James Tusk. It's an online course. You get a whole bunch of online lessons. There's over, I think, 2 hours worth of content on there. So you get instant access to that when you join the course. And then there's going to be 6 weeks of webinars with myself and James. The cost for that is £797. Okay. All in. All right. And you also get a WhatsApp group with us as well. And we'll individually, and we'll be helping you through the journey, through the process. There's another tier where you can come on a boot camp with us in Colombia in October. And then there's another tier, which is for high rollers only. So Jay, you might be interested in this one, where you get a 6-month transformation with us, and that's a high ticket offer that costs about $47,000. But the main thing for most I think people probably watching is $797 digital course plus 6 weeks of live webinars with James Tusk, only for people in that group, plus some personal one-on-one with us as well in an individual WhatsApp group. Okay, so jump on board with that. There's only a few spaces left for that. So drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can get you into that. NYC, Jay said New York would be good. Maybe I can meet the mythical Jay if you come to New York City. Week commencing, what did I say? Getting into mid-August now. Week commencing the 14th of August. So 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th of August in New York City. If you're interested in that, drop me an email. I'll give you the email address here, Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Troy@real. I can't even read that. Jesus. Oh, fucking hell. And it's wrong. All right. Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Email me about any of this stuff, and we'll have a conversation. Any final questions or thoughts? Hopefully I've done it right now. You know what I'm saying. Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. I spelled it wrong again. Fucking hell, guys. I'm really tired. I can't even see properly. Too much Diet Coke. But you know what I'm saying. Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Drop me an email. So William was saying, this need to slay is the reason I don't settle. So you don't have this need anymore. When did you lose interest in picking up lots of girls? I mean, look, man. Look, firstly, how old are you? Secondly, that's also the reason I don't settle, because I like variety. I'm just saying I slowed down a bit. All right. I mean, it's nuanced. You're like, what? Do you slay? And then I'm saying, no, man, I've slowed down a bit. And you're like, so you don't slay? So when did you stop slaying? It's like I slay a bit, I'm just not fucking running around like I was when I was 25. That's all I'm fucking saying. I'm just saying things get, I still like variety. That's why I haven't settled down. I think we're on the same side here. It's just, I'm just, as I say, I've got my priorities have shifted a little bit because I'm a bit older. I don't know how old you are, but I'm nearly fucking 50. I mean, by the time I'm Jay's age, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Jay's probably still slaying. I don't know. DigiNomad, do you pay for really expensive haircuts or just blessed with an awesome hair helmet? Is it worth paying for expensive helmets? I saw in Miami get a scissor skin fade. Well, actually, I do sometimes pay for quite an expensive haircut just because I've got this hairdresser. He does. A friend of mine is like in the entertainment business. He does his hair. He introduced me. He does some other like media personalities, I think TV people and maybe some pop stars and things like that in the UK. I see him. He's quite expensive. So I see him, but in between, I'll go to like cheap places as well. And if I was traveling, I'll just go somewhere. If I need like a bit of a touch up, I'll just go to some random place, and then I'll go back to this guy's called Phil. I'll go back to Phil and get him. So last time when I was in London last week, I think I got Phil to sort of go over it, and and he does a good job. But that's not really. I mean, in terms of like. I mean, it's kind of down to your natural hair, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what your hair's like, but obviously, they can only work with what they've got, if that makes sense. I'm not sure that it's really. I mean, it makes a bit of a difference, but I don't think it makes a huge difference, to be honest. I mean, men's hair if it's short, it's quite hard to really badly fuck up, and even if it does. Even if they do really fuck it up, it's going to grow out quite quickly anyway. So, what did you learn from Paul Janker? Any tips? Seriously? Yeah, well, just getting in there quickly and getting out again. I mean, that, he was very sharp to the point. Start conversation, go out into NYC in the afternoon on a Saturday, talk to a load of girls, 25 girls, get a bunch of phone numbers, get in. Hey, you're cute. Bit of banter. Listen, let's exchange numbers. We should grab a coffee, get the number, get out. Okay. He said that he preferred, rather than keeping the conversation going too long and potentially blowing yourself out, he liked to keep it short and sweet and leave her guessing. Okay. So I think that's a key thing that I've taken from him. He also had the concept of like stacking dates, which I don't do so much anymore, but it's a bit like, you can have a date scheduled for 7, you can have a date scheduled for 9 and a date scheduled for 11. And if the first one doesn't come through or she flakes, you've got another one. If that fucks up, you've got a third one. That to think about as well. And his advice about how to deal with not drinking alcohol on dates is quite good as well, because he doesn't drink like me anymore. Is Tusk with you? He's not here, no. Can I meet up? Raoul Mode, can I meet up with you in NYC in August? Well, if you come on the boot camp, then yes, but I'm with that name, man, I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. But no, I mean, if you're interested in, attending the training, then drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. If Troy was bald, he would still slay. Thank you. Well, fingers crossed. Thanks for the advice, says Jay. Okay, I think that's about it. Hopefully that's all covered. Basically, what it all comes down to is if anything that we've talked about here is of interest to you, any of the, the Edge or coming to Vegas or coming to New York City and doing some training with me, drop me an email. That's what it comes down to. Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. I'll try for one last time. Type it correctly. I mean, it's pretty simple anyway, but. Have I managed it? This might actually be Troy@realtroyfrancis.com. So drop me an email about any of that stuff, and we can discuss and we can figure something out. But yeah, man, I mean, you need to be out there. If you want to be slaying, you've got to be talking to a lot of women. You've got to be talking to a lot of different women. You've got to be accepting the fact that rejection happens, and you've got to be upgrading your riz. Because it's not just about going up and having a nice, friendly, polite conversation and hoping that she wants to jump into bed with you. You've got to create something. You got to create some vibe. You got to create some chemistry. You got to give her a reason to want to see you. You know, you want to be in that conversation, and she's like, "Fucking hell, this guy, he's got something about him. He's got some edge." You know, I mean, imagine if John Zerka goes and talks to her, right? She's going to be like, "What the fuck?" Like, it's going to blow her brains out. This guy's like fucking crazy, but he's like charismatic, but he's a bit dangerous, but he's a bit edgy. I don't know what he's going to do next. Like, that's how you want her to feel. You don't want her to feel like, oh, well, you know, I bet he's got a really healthy 401k and a nice middle management job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not sexy. It's not giving her anything. You've got to give us feels. Okay. So if that's missing, then drop me an email and we can talk about how to help. What's the price of your boot camp in NYC? This time, for anybody watching the stream, we'll do it for the special rate of £2,797. Okay, so normally, and this is for 4 days, 4 hours plus per day of instruction. We can listen in with microphones, get into loads of interactions, feedback after every interaction. It's going to be very low ratio as well, probably only a couple of guys and myself. Very, very try to keep the ratios as low as possible. So as much attention on you as possible. We'll get into as many interactions as we possibly can. I'll watch you. I'll monitor everything from body language, proximity to the woman, what you're saying, eye contact, use of touch, how you're responding to her, how she's responding to you, fashion, grooming, all of these different things. And every interaction will go through it. We'll break it down, what you did well, what you didn't do as well. And we'll fine tune as you go along. If you're starting to get some phone numbers, we'll figure out the date strategy. We'll do all the texting and everything together. We'll really work through every aspect of your game. Okay, theory as well, but we'll mainly be focusing on the the in-person, the real life actionable work. Okay, the normal cost for this is $3,797. Because it's you guys. For this one, we'll do it for $2,797. Okay, so if that's of interest to you, or if you don't want to do 4 days, but you can do a couple of those days, then again, let me know and we can figure something out. But that will be the top line. Okay, William. So, whereabouts are you based, William? It'd be great to have you over. Again, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can have a chat about it. Chemistry. Final word from Jay. Chemistry. Troy is the ABC of the space. Always be closing. Absolutely. Well, John MLD used to say, always be sourcing, always be closing. And that's really important. You want to be always out there creating new opportunities for yourself, sourcing new leads. And then those leads, you want to always be closing those leads. So 2 steps to it, really. But yeah, absolutely. Greetings from Romania. Good to have you here, sir. I've only been to Bucharest, but it's a great place, and I'm hopefully going to be back soon. All right, guys. William, drop me an email. Mr. Patel, drop me an email about NYC. Ralmote, if you're serious, and I hope that's not your real name, drop me an email about NYC. Anybody else? Miami, Las Vegas, New York City, the Edge course. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. And we will get it locked down. Have a great rest of the evening, guys. I will see you again very soon. Until then, bye-bye.